I will say, though, if there is a shutdown, and I don't want to get too much into hypotheticals, but this is the reality, transition activities will be restricted. And with limited exceptions, obviously, but such as prevent imminent threats to the safety of human life or the protection of property. Those are the things that we would that we would have to be concerned about. And so we're doing everything to ensure a smooth transition, but the choice to allow a transition to move forward is in the hands of Republicans in Congress.
You're not going to believe what Donald's response was to that threat, but tonight we're going to talk about the continuing resolution that has passed, and we are going to expose all of the stuff that is not mentioned by the White House press secretary as we break this on down. You won't believe this. What is up, gang? This is Carlton Flowers with the Go Political channel, and tonight we are going to discuss the breaking news, which is the continuing resolution has passed and we will not have a government shutdown. Yay! And so in this video, we're going to check out what Karine Jean-Pierre, who is the White House press secretary, had to say about this process before the bill was passed. And then I'm going to explain to you what the difference was between the first version of the bill, which was over 1,500 pages, and the final bill, which only contained 118 pages. Hold on till the end, though. You don't want to miss the last bit. I'm going to show you that clip again of what Karine Jean-Pierre said about the shutdown related to the transition and the possibility of problems. You won't believe what Donald Trump had to say about that. So let's jump on over to the White House press secretary and let's hear what she has to say. And we're just going to react along the way because there's a continuing theme that you're going to notice in the responses that she gives. I'm just going to play you 7 little bits of what she has to say, certain questions that were asked, and then you tell me if you notice a recurring theme. And after she gets done, well, then we're going to summarize what the cutback really was with the bill that took it from 1,500 pages all the way down to 119. So let's start with this first clip. Here we go.
This is a mess that Speaker Johnson created. It is his mess to fix. There was a deal on the table. They weigh a bipartisan deal. A bipartisan deal. In this day and age, they were able to come up with a bipartisan deal. And that agreement, the Speaker Johnson needs to stick to. He needs to hold his commitment.
So that's going to be the excuse that she gives for the next 58 minutes. I'm not going to play it all and put you to sleep, but blame it on Speaker Johnson. That is the strategy. And you're going to hear that over and over again. You're also going to hear her use the term bipartisan bill over and over again. That means that both Democrats and Republicans agreed on the bill. However, she's going to deflect and blame this on the Republicans only. Now, there's a contradiction right there, right off the bat. How can you say that they had an agreement for a bipartisan bill, but they're blaming the Republicans for not passing a bill, which the bill actually did pass? Well, we'll just set that aside for now, and we're going to jump to the 13-minute and 45-second point, and we're going to hear her answer this question, and you tell me what you notice here. And I will put the link to this video so you can watch it and see if you can stomach the whole thing yourself. I certainly can't watch this again. Now, here we go with the question.
Johnson needs to fix this. Has President Biden spoken to the House Speaker, or does he have any plans to?
I've answered this in so many ways, and I'm going to answer it now. We got to be really clear. Speaker Johnson created this mess, and he needs to fix it. I don't have anything else to add beyond that. He knows, the speaker knows how to fix this. They got to a bipartisan deal. He said he was going to move forward with it. They stopped it because of the direction that they were given by the president-elect and Elon Musk. And right now we need...
Okay, that's enough of that. I can't barely stand to hear her talk, so I'm going to keep it to a minimal. So let me clue you in on something about this person that she is blaming, who is a Republican, Speaker Mike Johnson. Well, let me tell you what, Speaker Mike Johnson is a rhino. That stands for Republican in name only. I don't like Speaker Mike Johnson. There's an event going on this weekend where Republicans are gathering. I believe it's in the state of Florida. And there are several speakers. I can't remember the name of the event, but Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is slated to speak. And they're saying that he's probably going to get booed off the stage. Now, why would the Speaker of the House, Republican Mike Johnson, get booed off the stage at a Republican event? Well, it's because he is a rhino. And 9 times out of 10, he's working with the Democrats. You may as well put a donkey on his forehead. Just tattoo a donkey on the man's forehead because he loves spending money and increasing the national debt, the deficit, the budget deficit. He is a destroyer of budgets. And so it's interesting that she's going to blame Speaker of the House, Mr. Mike Johnson, throughout this whole address. But at the same time, she blames this all on the Republicans. Kind of interesting. Doesn't make much sense. Well, let's fast forward to the 15-minute and 14-minute and 50-second point, and let's hear another question and see if you notice something. Here we go.
Okay.
Hi, Karine. I'll go at the question another way. In this moment, is the president leading?
The president is the president of the United States, and he is leading. And to be very clear, as it relates to this, I've said this many times before, moments ago, and I'll say it again. We have done the strategy before. This is not new, where we have said Congress needs to deal with this. This is their number one job, is to keep the government open. And there was an agreement on the table, not just an agreement, a bipartisan agreement. Speaker Johnson created this mess. He needs to fix it, period.
To be clear.
Oh, my God. Okay, can you believe that? He was asking a question of where's President Biden? When is he going to talk? Where is he hiding? What was her answer? Well, the Republicans need to pass this bill. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson created this problem, and he needs to fix it. What has that got to do with the question? But this is the third time, and there was more because I'm skipping over several questions that were asked, but that's the third time in this video that you heard her say that same statement. It's the Republicans' fault. Speaker Johnson created this problem and he needs to fix it. So let's just kind of move on and we'll just leave that alone because I can't explain how that was an answer to the very valid question of where is President Biden? And I know where he was going with that because of the scandal that was uncovered where the news agencies are admitting that aides in the White House knew about the president's mental decline and dementia since day one, since he won the presidential election in 2020 and came into office thereafter. Okay, that's the scandal of the day, but we'll save that for another video. So now we're going to zip forward to the 16-minute and 35-second point where someone is going to ask the question about, well, what does President Biden have to say to Americans about the shutdown? And you tell me what you notice again, if there is a recurring theme in this answer. Okay, here we go.
Speak to troop.
Last question,
Yep.
Karine, and I know you have tried to answer it several times, but shouldn't Americans hear from the President of the United States just hours from a shutdown?
What Americans need to know is that you have Republicans in Congress, in the House, who got in a way, who stopped a bipartisan agreement. They got in the way. They created this mess. And I said this earlier when I said, and you all know this, or you report this, it is not easy to get to a bipartisan agreement here in this town. And there was one. Both sides sat down. They came to an agreement, which is a good thing for the American people. We thought we were moving.
Okay, stop the madness. It's more than 15 seconds and I'm going to just fall out of my chair and hit my head on the floor listening to this woman ramble on and give the same excuse, which is basically a lie. If there was a bipartisan agreement that was agreed upon, then why didn't the bill pass? What is she talking about? So again, there's the fourth time that we turn around and we deflect and blame the Republicans and Mike Johnson and mention the term, there was a bipartisan bill. Okay, let's forward to the 19-minute and 55-second point. And we're going to have a question here. Again, this is going to be the third time. I skipped over one. The third time someone is asking, well, why isn't President Biden speaking and sending a message about the shutdown? So let's hear this question. Here we go.
Right now. Okay.
I'm just going to try to ask this a different way.
Yeah.
President
You're gonna get the
is still in
same answer.
office. I'm just going to try. He's still in office for
Feel free.
a month. The American people really haven't heard from him on whether or not the government is going to shut down. Wouldn't the message hit differently if the president were out there countering the message that we're hearing from the president-elect and Elon Musk? Why isn't he speaking on this?
Republicans are breaking their word. They are breaking their word to support a bipartisan agreement. We would not be in this position if Republicans in the House did not break their word. That's where we are. And we're talking about...
Oh my God. And she's going to ramble on even more with the same point. Here she goes again. We want to know, where is the president? Why is he speaking on this? Well, that was a bipartisan bill, and, it's the Republicans' fault, and, well, Mike Johnson got us into this mess. He's going to have to get us out. She goes on to say that. All right, we've got two more, and then we're going to be done. I can't stomach more than two more statements coming from this lady. But you can tell that this is well rehearsed. The deflections that she's given, and it's a bald-faced lie. It's not even true. Let's go to 23 minutes and 27 seconds, and someone's going to ask another question about Biden speaking. So 23:27, and you tell me if you're surprised to hear this answer that she's about to give. Here we go.
To a place where they prevent this.
When is the next time that people will hear from the president?
I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. It is very easy. I hear your question, but it's very easy to fix this. The mess that Republicans created, it is very easy for them to fix this. Bipartisan deal agreement. Move forward. Keep your word, Republicans in Congress. Keep your word. Keep your word. Go ahead.
Thank you, Karine. I have a question on China.
Oh my God. Absurd. So we're using the same answer, the same deflection. There was a bipartisan bill. The Republicans messed it all up. It's Mike Johnson's fault. Mike Johnson, the rhino, who agrees with Democrats 90% of the time. Okay, let's finally get to the last one where she's going to make this threat about what could happen if there's a government shutdown. Now, you can watch the rest of this, but every question asked, she keeps repeating the same canned answer, deflecting and not answering those questions and giving just one excuse after another. Well, really the same excuse, one after another, for why Joe Biden is not talking. And we know why he's not talking. He can't talk. All right, so now let's go to the 33-minute and 29-second and hit this last response. And then we are going to shut this thing off and not have to listen to her mouth anymore. Here we go.
On their behalf, and that's what the press is going to be focused on.
Real briefly, since you mentioned the shutdown, different angle on that question, potential shutdown, I should say. Should the American people be confident that in the event of a shutdown, there would still be a smooth transition and inauguration process?
That has been the president's commitment. And that you've heard directly from him. We want to make sure that there is a responsible committed to a responsible transition, and as you know, his team, he and his team has certainly been working towards that. The team has been preparing for months to make sure that happens. I will say though, if there is a shutdown, and I don't want to get too much into hypotheticals, but this is the reality, transition activities will be restricted. And with limited exceptions, obviously, but such as prevent imminent threats to the safety of human life or the protection of property. Those are the things that we would, that we would have to be concerned about. And so we're doing everything to ensure a smooth transition. But the choice to allow a transition to move forward is in the hands of Republicans in Congress. We can continue to have.
Okay, I can't take any more of that. Did you hear that? So she's going to scare people into thinking that people's lives could be at stake if we have an inauguration. Because of the shutdown, we're not going to be able to fund security. So threats to human life and, that goes, to sky high, and safety, well, that just goes straight out the window because, of course, it's the Republicans' fault and Mike Johnson started this problem and he needs to get us out of this. How absurd is that? And it's even funnier because they passed the bill. They got it cut down and they got the bill passed. And the funniest thing about it, well, let me tell you the difference between the first version of the bill and the last version, and then I'll tell you what Donald Trump's response was to the threat that she just made, which is just disgusting and absurd. So I'm going to jump over here to Twitter. I did a nice little summary here on Grok. Let's check out some of these things that were cut out of the final bill before the passage. I'll just read through these really quickly. Funding for gain-of-function research. Proposals to fund this type of research were eliminated, which involves studies where viruses are made more transmissible or deadly. And if you don't know about gain-of-function, you need to know about it. If you don't know about Anthony Fauci, the dirtbag, and what he has to do with that, you need to do your own research. Genetically altering an organism to enhance biological functions. So it says that this research helps to understand infectious disease and develop vaccines. However, despite the benefits, it is controversial due to its potential risks of creating more virulent pathogens. But that's a video for another day. So that was cut. Funding for mask and vaccine mandates. Cut out of there. New biolabs. Plans for funding 12 new biolabs were cut, potentially impacting research capabilities. Congressional pay raises. What the heck? A proposed increase in congressional salaries from $174,000 to $243,000 per year. What in God's name? I don't even know what percentage of a gain that is. Can someone do the math? Post it in the comments. Tell me what percent of a raise. That's like what, 20%? 25% maybe? That's absurd. Let's write ourselves in a pay raise because we're about to have an emergency shutdown. That's called holding the Americans hostage. We know that in order to avoid a shutdown, we got to have a bill passed. So let's just throw in an extra pay raise for us where we're going to get another 43, 53, 63, $67,000 per year. Oh my God. How about that? Now, this next one is the worst of them all. Aid to Ukraine. There was a significant reduction with mentions of $60 billion and another $80 billion being removed from the bill for support to the Ukraine. Why would you have more wasted money, printing money, to throw into the Department of Defense and the military-industrial complex to push a war that is not winnable, a war that Donald Trump is going to stop dead in its tracks as soon as he gets into power? Why would you try to force another $80 billion in just because you're trying to pass an emergency measure because you know that you got the American public held hostage? That, my friends, is disgusting. So then there was talk of a Washington, D.C. stadium that was stripped, and there's talk. Some say that that was a misnomer. Some say that no, there was a stadium, and I think the truth is in between, where they were going to use the stadium to house people that were hurricane victims, but then it was going to be a stadium. So truth on both sides of that. The last one was rebuilding of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. So this is interesting. And again, it's called extortion. This is what you call extortion. We know we got to pass a bill, and so we're going to extort the American public. We're going to throw in all of this extra stuff, or earmarks. It's also called pork barrel spending. Pork means your representative, your senator is going to say, hey, throw in a couple $1 million for my hometown, our municipality is wanting to build a couple new bridges and some parks, and we need a ice skating rink. So that's called pork. There were some absurd things that I heard that I'm not going to mention here that were in this bill that would benefit people who don't even live in the United States. So this is what they do. This is what your elected officials do, and they all do it. It's not just Democrats. It's not just Republicans. They all do it. But then when Elon Musk puts out a post on X and busts them out, and Vivek Ramaswamy does a video that exposes the Congress for what they're doing, well, they had to reduce that bill by 1,400 pages. So all of the people crying about Elon Musk being the shadow president, well, cry me a river, because it's a good thing. You just saved yourself billions and billions of dollars. That's a lot of money. Most likely, quite probably, more than $100 billion stripped from that bill. And so that means that's less money to be printed, and that means less money in circulation, which means that much less of inflation that we're going to experience because your elected crooks that you put into office want to do their little pork barrel spending and slide things into a bill that should be passed in a separate bill or not passed at all. All right, so the last thing. I heard that Donald Trump stated that if they did not pass this bill, rather than running the risk of no security and having the multiple problems that they would face for the inauguration, that he was willing to spend the money out of pocket on the security and for all of the agencies that had work to do in order to guarantee that we would have a safe inauguration. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. You might remember that when he was in his first term of the presidency, he did not accept a paycheck. The man's already a billionaire. Well, that is if Letitia James doesn't steal Trump Towers from him in New York City. But the man definitely does not need a paycheck, and he said that he would foot the bill himself. That's pretty interesting. So hopefully all of you enjoyed this, both Democrats and Republicans, because we've got rats on both sides of the aisle. You got rhinos, you got demo rats that spend up money and do crooked things and have their little earmarks for the pork for their personal communities that they slide into these bills. They're all bad. What do you think about the fact that your congressmen and congresswomen use situations like this to steal money? Post it in the comments. Are you happy that the bill got cut back from 1,500 pages down to 118 pages? And do you like Elon Musk or not trust him? I'm neutral. I don't totally trust Elon Musk, but I will say that he was very effective in putting out the tweet and completely halting this big fat pork barrel bill that almost got slid in without anybody knowing it because the traditional media doesn't report on this stuff. Why? Because the politicians are in their back pockets. That's all I got for this one, guys, but I would love it if you would like, comment, and subscribe to the Go Political channel. Tick the little notification bell so you don't miss a single video, and I will be doing a live stream very soon. So hang with me, and we're going to be going back to Dalton and the Thornton Township because there was a crazy Thornton Township board meeting today that I got to tell you all about. So with that, this is Carlton, and I am out.